That just struck me for the first time just how male-dominated YouTube is. There's a pretty big male-to-female ratio here. Falling into a niche that I didn't really love, which was the NFT niche. I don't want to do this. And those all completely flopped. And that's when I kind of had to shut down that channel. The best system possible is the one that works for you. If I could be successful at anything in the world, I would want to be a successful YouTuber.
Today we will be meeting Aprilynne Alter, a creator and educator who learns side by side with her audience to uncover what it takes to become a successful YouTuber.
She's got monetized within 4 months starting her YouTube channel, and she's reached 30,000 subscribers within just 9 months. But this isn't the first time she's blown up on YouTube. She's had 2 other YouTube channels growing to more than 30,000 subscribers very, very quickly over the last few years, and now she's teaching others how to grow their YouTube channels.
Stay tuned for YouTube insights you won't find anywhere else. This is the Playstack Podcast, where we talk about everything YouTube growth. Awesome. Thank you so much, Aprilynne, for joining us today. This is super exciting because you're the first one. We've been watching and following you for a while now. Like Mike said before we started
3
this,
years.
is like he's been one of the OG followers, even from previous channels. So it's really nice and exciting that you're here on the call. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. Excited to be the first.
The reason why I wanted to have you on was because, like Milan says, I've been following you for a few years, but you have a very good track record of starting a YouTube channel and getting traction very, very quickly. Right, so a couple of years ago, you had a YouTube channel and it grew to, I think, 20,000 subscribers very quickly. And then you started your YouTube channel, which makes sense, talking about YouTube growth. And you grew that to 35,000 subscribers in about 9 months. And I think I was watching one of your videos recently. I think it's got like 500,000 views in just a few weeks, which is insane. And I really like your approach to YouTube in that a lot of people on YouTube, they're just kind of posting weekly, but you've kind of gone a completely different strategy, and you're posting like really, really, really good content that you've researched a lot, that you spend a lot of time on, and then you're maybe uploading once every 3 weeks or once every 4 weeks. So my question would be, why did you kind of step away from the status quo of just posting weekly to just posting monthly now, but making like incredible videos?
Let's talk about this new channel, because this was the one that I started feeling somewhat confident that I kind of knew what I was doing because it was my second time around. And I started with weekly uploads and I wasn't getting a ton of traction, which felt very demoralizing as someone who's like thought that she knew what she was doing, uploading videos weekly, being consistent, not getting a lot of traction. And kind of like at this pit of despair that I fell into. And I was like, what am I doing with my life? Why is nothing working? Is it all in my head? Am I really not as good as I think that I am? I decided to go into a 90-day challenge. I am all about challenges. I like sprints. And so I set myself a 90-day challenge to get monetized. So I'm going to monetize my channel within 90 days. And to get started with that challenge, I decided to kind of go a little bit crazy and upload 3 videos per week. That was my game plan from the beginning, uploading 3 videos per week for the duration of the challenge. And it was really cool because during those early, weeks of that challenge, I discovered my most minimum viable video. So, okay, like if I condense a video into like just 2 or 3 days, can I do it? And my process during that time was like, okay, 1 day of research, 1 day to script and film the video, and 1 day to script and film the video, and 1 day to edit and upload. And that was like my minimum viable video. And I did that for, I don't know, maybe 5 videos. And through that process, I realized what my baseline of quality was. And getting those reps in, I really understood, okay, this is my baseline quality. If I had a little extra time, I know I could improve my quality in this way, this tangible, specific way. If I had more time, I could do it in this tangible, specific way. So I gave myself a little bit more time. I went back to 1 week. But now, having gone through that experience, I was like, okay, I know what I can improve. And then I came across this clip from Mr. Beast, in which he talked about a common mistake that a lot of beginners go through is saying you have to upload once per week no matter what. And then it's like, even if they have a video that they know could be improved, they just upload it anyway for the sake of getting it up. So I saw that really resonated with me. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to do that. This next video, it's going to be good. No matter how long it takes, it's going to be good. And I spent, I want to say 2 to 3 weeks on it and uploaded it. And that was the one that ended up like blowing up first. And then after that one blew up, some of my other ones that I had also spent a little bit more time working on started to gain more and more views and started to blow up after that as well, which was really, really great. And then for the video after that one, I felt a lot of pressure because I had one video go viral and I was like, wow, how do I follow this up? Everyone's going to be expecting another banger video. I have to deliver. And I felt some imposter syndrome of like, well, how do I prove to everyone else and to myself I'm not a one-hit wonder? And that I didn't just get lucky and that I really do have what it takes to be a YouTuber. And then I kind of went, bit off way more than I could chew, went into my hole, like hundreds of hours of research, 73 pages of notes, 3 months to make my next video, which is about thumbnails. Wow. 30 minutes long, super long video, but no fluff. And that video to me is the best video that I've ever made and probably the best video I will make, at least for a while, because I am not doing that again. 3 months is way too long, way too long.
Yeah.
But I think through that process, I really realized that quality matters so much. And it's so much, like, as Mr. Beast often says, it's a lot easier to make one video with 100,000 views than 10 videos with 10K views. And I know that if I just sit down and make a quality video, the views will come as long as I put the effort into it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because your last video got 100,000 views. The video before that got 550,000 views. So I'm curious what your next video is going to be about, because there's quite a lot of pressure, right? There's quite a lot of pressure. But secondly, you spent 3 months making a video. And my worst nightmare is for that video. Like if I spent 3 months making a video and then that video just flops and it doesn't get any views, that would be quite crushing. So it's quite a big risk. I mean, for you, it really paid off because it's one of your best performing videos on the channel now.
Yes. And I think that video itself was de-risked because I was already following a format that I knew worked really, really well for me, which is the format of that first video that blew up. I was doing quite a natural follow-up to that video. So I knew that everyone who loved my first one will also love this one.
Yeah.
And so spending a lot of time was de-risked for me for that. And in fact, like now that I've had 2 that have shown success, it's like, okay, I have the basis for a series and a series of videos that I know with some degree of certainty that if I execute on them properly are most likely also going to do very, very well. So that really helps, is like knowing that I have a series there that I can pursue. My next video though is we're taking a break from the series. So my video after this one is going to be the next in line in that series, but my next video is going to be something that's quite different.
Okay, looking forward to it.
I mean, yeah, it's going to be a shift. I've been very intrigued by the YouTube new wave recently, so I wanted to kind of dabble in that and see. I'm not a cinematographer. I'm not a filmmaker. I have 0 camera skills, so I wanted to challenge myself a little bit and see if I can get a little bit more cinematic with an experimental video. And it was kind of like a message for myself as well, to give myself the permission to experiment and to work on a video that might not do well, because I pigeonholed myself, I pigeonholed myself so hard in my last channel to the point where like I completely burned out. I had to leave YouTube. So this time around, I'm not making that same mistake, saying, okay, you know what? It doesn't matter if this video will not perform as well. It has a different goal. The goal for this next video is to connect the viewers that I already have. It's okay if it doesn't bring in new viewers. Like the goal is different. And yeah, we'll see how it does.
So would you recommend most YouTubers just going all in with 1 video a month, or would you recommend most to just post weekly like they're already doing now?
Well, I would recommend seeing what your minimum viable video is, right? Like if you gave yourself 2 days to make a video, how would that video be, right? And I do think it's a very interesting challenge to give yourself a very like small period of time and see what the best possible video you can make, and keep improving in quality until you hit a plateau, until you hit a point where like, man, I know how I can improve, but I can't do it because I literally do not have the time. And that's when I think you can start experimenting with like pushing your time a little bit more, because then you know what to improve. I also think that for newer YouTubers, I would not recommend spending a month on a video at all, because you don't know how best to spend that time. And that's not a diss on you. It's not because, I guess it is because you don't know what you're doing, but not in a personal way. It's like because no one knows what they're doing when they're brand new. So you need to get those reps in to even understand how to best fill that time to make it worth it for a more quality video.
That's awesome. And when you're now creating as well, like, are you drawing any inspiration from certain creators, or like, are you trying to follow any trends? How does that go for you?
I mean, absolutely. I think like my biggest source of, I've been inspired by a few people along this journey. When I first got into YouTube, Catherine Manning, who used to do YouTube education and no longer does anymore. But like, she was my girl when I started out. Like, I loved all of her content. I was watching everything. So she kind of like really, I guess, turned me on into the idea of doing YouTube education, but also doing it in a way that felt different, because hers didn't feel very sterile, right? It felt very, very friendly. Along the way, I found other sources of inspiration as well. John Dorman is incredible. Love all of his stuff. Hasn't been uploading recently, but I really loved his vibe and took like a lot of inspiration from him. Maybe too much inspiration for him for the first time that I did it, but I'm learning. And I mean, Ali Abdal, love his stuff. And recently I've been following Life of Riza a lot, just because I've been trying to improve my cinematography and filmmaking. I'm never going to get to the point where she is, but just like getting more inspiration for more creative shots that like have never even occurred to me.
It's interesting how
That's cool.
It's interesting how many YouTubers we look up to, like we both look up to, because I've been watching Catherine Manning for, even probably I'm not her target demographic, but I've been watching her channel for years. And the same with Life of Riza as well. When you were talking about upgrading your video quality or your filming quality, the first person I thought of was Life of Riza, because she's almost like, and then probably like 2 years ago it was probably Matt Diavella, because he was like the videographer, I guess. And now Life of Riza, like, she's been doing really well with her channel. I think she's been doing really well. So it's interesting that we're kind of looking up to the same YouTubers.
Yeah, very similar circles there, and I love that. I love that so much.
Yeah.
So yeah, we talked a little bit about like already how your minimal viable video. Did you create like actual structures? Like, for example, we love using Notion. Actually, Mike got me onto Notion, and now I can't get away from it. Like, do you have templates or stuff that you use yourself to come up with all your ideas and structure your videos?
Yeah. My video process now, I guess like it's kind of divided between my like banger videos and then my like other videos. For the ones that I go super ham with, I do have a system. It's a kind of like a very jumbled system, but I believe that the best system possible is the one that works for you and feels, and Google Sheets. And so kind of those three together is kind of how I structure how I guess like the three places that I put things when it comes to making the final construction of a video.
That's cool. And then also like we were teaching people a lot, like the most important thing, and we already touched upon this, is like the idea of the video, right? Instead of just trying to just post videos, the idea. So what's your process of coming up with these ideas?
I think it's, again, when you have a working series, it's really easy because it's just, okay, just the next one in the series, right? So I have my how to make a killer video series, right? So I'm like, okay, we did intro, we did thumbnail, we're going to do idea and title and editing, and people have asked for like script writing and sound design as well. And so like, all of these things I can follow the same format with. But like when it came to the first one of those, that was more, I took, again, a lot of inspiration from other creators that I saw in terms of the formats of those videos, the idea of those videos, and trying to like understand if there were any gaps. I also realized that in a previous video of mine, which was breaking down like how Mr. Beast solved YouTube, and I broke that into a couple of categories that he had talked about. Part of that video was talking about how he approached intros, and so I like breaking everything into frameworks. I realized that when I broke his intro into a framework, the retention during that part of the video was really high. So I'm like, okay, what if I just took this part of the video and 500x'd it and went super, super ham into it and made that its own video. And so that was an experiment for me, but it was one that I felt like it was a solid, educated guess. And again, it turned out to be my breakout video for this new channel.
That's really interesting. Like, I wanted to ask you that as well. Like, what data on your YouTube studio are you effectively using to like adapt and become better, right? Like, obviously when you post a video, you get your 5 out of 10, 1 out of 10, 10 out of 10 metric, where it's just views, click-through rate,
Hopefully
average view
never
duration.
10 out of 10s, but those do happen.
Well, yeah. What I learned is like, okay, those are really cool indicators to start with, but it's not really telling the whole story. Like, which parts of your whole analytics are you really looking at that says like, okay, this is a banger part? You touched on retention. Are there any other parts of it?
Retention, I think, is super interesting to look at specifically, what parts are flat, what parts people like pause and like even go back in and rewatch where like, the retention actually goes up, and what parts go super steeply down. All of those things are really good information to keep note of. I mean, obviously things like CTR, super important. I like to look at like new versus returning viewers. I like to look at traffic sources, like where are my videos being found in the first place, and also what is the different CTR based on those traffic sources. That can be something really interesting because like maybe I have a really high CTR, but if I look at it and it's only a high CTR because it's being clicked on a lot in search, but it's really terrible in browse, right? Then it's like, okay, if I want to keep it as a search optimized video, I could keep it like that. But if I want more people to be clicking on browse, I might change the thumbnail for that purpose. The other analytic that I really like to look at when it comes to if you want to like go back and change old thumbnails, because I like to go into the advanced mode and look at average view percentage, or like average percentage views viewed and CTR. And I like to look at videos that have a really high AVP, so people are watching them a lot of the way through, but a really low click-through rate, because that's like a pretty good indicator that it's like a solid video. When people do click on it, they are watching it a really long way through, but they're not clicking on it in the first place. It's like, okay, if I were to go and put in a lot of the effort to redo thumbnails and titles, those would be the ones that I would target first.
Yeah, I'm just looking at your most recent videos, and as you mentioned, you really like frameworks, right? So you really like making videos, not just having like point 1, point 2, point 3, but having it in an actual framework. And then what I really like is you have your PDF as a kind of a lead magnet in the description to collect emails, which I think not enough YouTubers are doing, because at the end of the day, we need to take the audience off YouTube, because YouTube can do whatever they want to your channel. But if you've got an email, then that's yours, and no one's taking that away. Are all of your videos from now on going to have frameworks and PDFs or some kind of lead magnet, or is it just for those like two big? Is it just for those two big videos that you spent a long time making?
All of the ones in How to Make a Killer Video series will have those. Okay. The ones that I do break into frameworks are going to have them, whether it's part of the series or outside of that series. But in the other types of videos that I'm doing for more experimentation, or like I kind of sort the other videos into two categories. You have the connection videos that are meant to connect with your current audience, and then soul videos, videos that you create just for yourself, because as a creative, you kind of need to do that to rejuvenate yourself. Otherwise, it's really easy to let your creative spark die. So giving myself the permission to create those other 2 types of videos when needed. And then also the third category, the banger videos. Those are the ones that I like to go all super ham in. And those will probably, again, if I break it into a framework, it's going to have a PDF associated with it.
Yeah, because that's something that I've started doing just this year. So every video will have some kind of lead magnet. Because I've got a few kind of free mini courses that I'm giving out for free, and so last year it was like I would do a sponsor for a video, and obviously the sponsor would pay, and I would be shouting out the sponsor for like 60 seconds, but then it's like I wouldn't even be building my own audience. I wouldn't even be building my own email list. I would just be, building sponsors' email lists or sponsors' companies. So that didn't really make sense. So this year, every video will have some kind of call to action or some kind of lead magnet, even just for like 5 or 10 seconds, a shout out, just to build that email list up. Because, like I say, I don't think enough of us are building our email lists.
Yeah, I think that's really important too. What I wanted to ask you on that actually is like, because you had 2 banger videos, right? What are like the conversion to emails from those views, for example? Like one has 550,000 views, one out just over 100,000. Like, is there a decent conversion out of this?
No, it's horrible. It's a really bad conversion. Let me get you the exact number. I'm gonna log in and see how many people I have on my email list right now.
And which email platform do you use? Like, we're actually going really deep into this as well, because we're like, and this is another topic I want to talk about with you, is like you're building in public, right? And that helps all the creators, and including ourselves, even within building a business. And I was like, oh yeah, maybe I should do that too. Think about this. And so we started looking more into email as a business rather than just like looking at the normal marketing tools. So yeah, how has email treat you before, or like how is that helping you right now?
I will say I am super new to the world of email. I just started it recently because I was so sick and tired of hearing the advice, get off platform, own your audience, start an email list. And I was like, fine, I will. Okay. So I started one. I have pretty close to nearly 3,000 people in my email list now. So 2,963. So if you think about the conversions from, over 600,000 views, that's not a great conversion, but it's not nothing, right? 3,000 people on an email list is still pretty solid. I'm not upset. Again, I'm not an expert. I'm not doing anything with this email list because I'm scared. I'm like, I don't know what to say. Eventually I'm going to. I have like plans for what I want to do, but I'm definitely not an example to follow in this case. Like I have all of the people right now in my DMs being, the email, email list and newsletter experts who are like, oh, I signed up for your email list from your PDF and I didn't receive any welcome email and I didn't receive any of this. You could be doing this better. Like, I definitely could.
Yeah.
It hasn't been a big priority for me yet, but that's one of the things that I want to get to this year. And I guess for your question about like what platform, I'll say Kajabi. I everything kind of for me right now is living under Kajabi. So that's where I have my course, my domain, and my email list is also there. And that's also how I can create like that freebie, the flow there of like where you can go to download that. That's all through Kajabi.
Yeah, I've been using Kajabi for about 3 years or 4 years. All my courses, everything is under Kajabi, except for the website. The reason is because if I want to, because with the website, you want to be kind of building SEO authority. And if you did stop using Kajabi, then, and you had your website through Kajabi, then you'd have to start new with the website. But I really like Kajabi. It does everything, and it's really affordable as well. I think I'm paying like $200 a month, but you've got everything. You've got your email list, landing pages, you've got your courses, memberships. You can even host podcasts on Kajabi, and super simple to use as well.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's so funny. You said, oh, it's very affordable. The word that I was going to say is it's pretty expensive, but it does a lot, so it's worth it. I mean, I think it's I guess I say it's expensive because I compare it to things that obviously don't do as much, like let's say Gumroad or something, right? Or like Lemon Squeezy, where you put a product and it takes a percent. Versus Kajabi, if you sell anything, it doesn't take a percent. But then you have to think about and do the math between, okay, like how many sales do I need to make in the course of a year for it to be worth doing it on Kajabi versus on like Gumroad or Lemon Squeeze or something that like takes a cut. And then you look at that, it's like, okay, I do have to sell like a pretty large like number. I've made a decent number of sales. So if you're at that stage, it's great because again, it doesn't take a percent. So it allows you to keep scaling as high as you want. And your fees don't go up with that. But if you're like a smaller creator who isn't there with like sales yet, like, $30,000 per year can be a pretty, big cost.
For sure.
Yeah. So like one of the things that with email that Mike mainly was not afraid of, but like holding back on was like, okay, if I do a newsletter, then we need to put consistent effort into this, right? Like you need to post something new consistently because that's what people are expecting. And I always liked the idea of newsletters as well. But then like Mike also like, do I really want to write weekly or whatever it is? But then on the other hand, what we then learn, because those email experts are also like, we're looking for them in our case, that they're not really coming to us. But there's also just like evergreen sequences. And
exactly.
that's what we realized, that like this is the power in that. Like as long as you don't, if you make it evergreen, like I remember, and Mike can talk about this a lot more, he made his sequences 2 years ago and they're still selling today. And so we started implementing that at Playstack as well. We have a lead magnet and then a 10 email sequence on the back of it. And then you can put them into the next sequence if you want to upsell them to whatever it is, right? So that was actually quite low effort, or like maybe a few days of effort for a very long time of results. So that's probably, if you don't want to put in, like, because you're doing a lot, right? Like you're building in public, you're building your YouTube channel, and then having to do a newsletter would be a lot.
Yeah, Mike, I feel like we're the same person. We have like the same inspirations. We use these same platforms. We feel the same way about not wanting to write a weekly newsletter, which is very funny. But yeah, that's also like, I've tried to start a newsletter twice. Both time I got like 3 weeks into it and then stopped because it's like, this is just so much effort. I have other stuff to do. I don't want to do this. But yeah, 100% on sequences. It's one of those things where I know I should do them. Part of the reason why I haven't yet is because I don't think I have like the right products and services that I want to upsell them to. I have my course, and I think my course is great if you're a beginner. But I know that a lot of people in my audience are not quite beginners, or they've already advanced past the stage where my course would be useful. And so I want to be able to have other like product or service offerings, which I'm working on right now, so that when I get those sequences in play, like I have somewhere for them to go.
So can you tell us a little bit about your course and the kind of products and services that you're working on right now?
The what? Sorry.
The course that you have.
Costs?
Course.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, my British accent.
No, all good. Okay, yeah. So my course is the Beginner's Guide to YouTube from Zero to Monetize. Very long title, but as the title suggests, it is a beginner's guide to YouTube focused on specifically the time period when you're like going from zero to monetized on YouTube. That's the first like official course that I've ever made. There was like a lot of limiting beliefs in my head when it comes to like making a product in general, but I felt confident doing that one because, I've done it not once but twice. It's like, okay, I feel like I have a general idea of what I'm talking about for this stage of YouTube. I'm not going to teach you how to get to 1 million subscribers because I haven't done it yet, but for this particular stage, I feel like I have a pretty good handle on how to do this. And so that just like goes through all of like the fundamentals from getting to zero to monetize. but then it's like, okay, that's like really great if you're in that stage. But what happens if you're, graduated from that and maybe you have 8,000 subscribers and you're trying to grow? Like how do you get to that next stage? And I think that at least from a lot of people have recommended that I do like a community or paid membership or something along those lines, just because I feel like my viewership is like a very strong community, even though they have nowhere to go right now besides like comments. But in the comments section and even in community posts when I make them, my community posts, like those overperform so much. It's wild to me why more people don't do them. And it's just that there's just such a strong relationship there right now between my viewers and me, and we're all going through this journey together with that building in public. So I'm like, okay, I should probably do something related to that. So the offerings that I have coming in that I'm like planning for this year, I'm either going to do one or both of these. And that is a paid membership and a like paid advanced mastermind. And so kind of those are the things that I'm thinking about offering this year. Less so in terms of products, but more in terms of like the people behind it.
Yeah, that's what we're doing as well. We noticed this, especially if we're B2B.
We're the same people, man. This is the point of this podcast. It's like we're the same people.
Title of the video: Are we the same or not? But the thing is, did you have any specific challenges that you had with like creating beginner-friendly content? Because obviously the bar is lower for other people to also teach that. Like, and what would make you stand out, or what was your thought process behind that? It's like, okay, who am I versus why wouldn't they go for Ali Abdaal, or why wouldn't they follow another like vidIQ or whatever it is? What were your challenges there?
It's interesting because challenges on YouTube can so easily become opportunities on YouTube if you look at them through like from the other side of the window. All those challenges of like, okay, like how can I set myself apart when so much beginner-oriented content exists, then becomes an opportunity once you find your answer. And it's like, well, okay, now I can grow a lot. For me, it came through like a lot of experimentation, right? And like that's why it took a little bit of time for me to find my groove and my style and something that I felt like worked. A lot of leaning into my own superpowers. They say that you should focus on your weaknesses in your relationship and focus on your strengths in your career. And so thinking about YouTube, I'm like, okay, what am I really, 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 really good at? How can I leverage these strengths to my own channel and to the content that I make? For me, a lot of that came from, well, for one, I have a lot of time. I do this full time. I am the most overachiever that has ever overachieved. So I know that I can go super, super in detail on these things. I can research very well. And I'm very good at taking like a lot of information and like squishing it into a framework that's accessible and approachable and easy to understand. So I'm like, okay, all of those things I know to be true, unless I'm delusional, but I hope to be true. How can I apply this to my YouTube channel? I also think that other things that made me unique that I was thinking about was like, well, hey, I am a woman. There aren't many other female voices in this space. So that could be refreshing for some people to hear. And also, I think you said challenge, I say advantage that I had over Ali Abdaal vidIQ was that I was also in this process. And I feel like because of that, I could so much more like deeply not only understand, but empathize with all of the other kind of beginners going through the stage of the journey, because either I'm going through those same challenges right now, or I just went through them recently. So it's still very fresh in my mind. And in those cases, I felt like I could speak their language much better, empathize with them much more, and create this energy that felt less like, okay, like I'm here and I'm talking to you, but more so, we are all in this together, right? I'm going to go out, do a certain amount of crazy research because I'm obsessed and I can. I'm going to take back my findings. I'm going to share it with all of you. And together, we're all going to grow. And together, we're going to get to where we want to be. And again, that type of vibe and energy is one that, you don't get from vidIQ, you don't get from Ali, even though I love their channels, but you don't get that from them. That's something that I felt like I could provide.
Yeah, I love that. There's also a lot of people are like, oh, who am I to teach you this or who am I to teach you that? But in the end of the day, you're way closer or resonating a lot more with someone if you're only 1 or 2 steps ahead. And it's way fresher than someone is like 20, 30 steps ahead of you. Like both has their advantages, but also their disadvantages. And like obviously I listen a lot to Ali Abdaal as well, like his podcast, and it's always like, oh, why aren't you doing this or why aren't you doing this? And a lot of people have that imposter syndrome, right? And that's why, like what you just said, it's the best answer every time when somebody is too afraid to do something. And that also why you're building in public a lot?
I mean, I've built in public from the very beginning, before I was on YouTube, back when I was focused on building a Twitter audience. And it started completely on accident because I was learning how to grow on Twitter. And I was like, oh, this is a really cool thing that I learned. I'll share this with people just in case they need it too. And that did really, really well. And over time, I just felt like that sharing in public, it creates this really cool energy of people wanting you to succeed and rooting for you and either being a part of the process or like using you to live vicariously through you to experience as part of the process. And either way, it's like a really great place to be in because, again, you have this energy pushing you forward. You have this momentum. You never really feel like you're alone. And yeah, my mom tells me a lot to not be as open as I am. She's like, oh, why are you sharing so much on the internet? Like, don't share your failures. People won't trust you anymore. And I'm like, I understand how that might seem to someone who isn't, I guess, as like fluent with current internet workings. And I did have those fears myself when I first started, but what I see as the benefits just like far, far, far outweigh the people who might see that, you failed in some way and then disregard you. Like the benefits far outweigh that.
Yeah, I did a 30-day write a book in 30-day challenge last year, and it was like it nearly destroyed me, but it was kind of similar to you kind of building in public, and it wasn't easy, but I was very kind of open with the struggles, and I think that's how you build authenticity, because it's not easy to write 1,000 words a day for 30 days to write a book, and similar to you, it's not easy to build a YouTube channel. And I think this is something that not many people that don't have YouTube channels appreciate, of how taxing it is to be uploading every week or every 2 weeks, and it's just a treadmill, right? And it's similar to what Milan was talking about with the newsletter. Is that's another treadmill. So you've got to be very, very careful before you start another thing like that, because there's no real end goal. Like you literally, hopefully, if everything goes well, you'll be doing this forever, which is kind of a scary thought. But it's like every single week or every single 2 weeks or every single month, you've got to be posting videos, and you can't really stop, or the algorithm will kind of penalize you in some way.
Yeah, I think I'm very aware of how I view YouTube, like hyper aware of it, and my relationship with YouTube since being burned so hard by my last channel. And that's like why I'm approaching things so differently this time around, because I can't let that happen to me again.
Yeah.
And I don't want to view YouTube as a treadmill. And right now for me, again, I'm still kind of in this honeymoon phase of YouTube. And obviously, when you're getting views, when you have momentum, it feels a whole lot easier to keep to keep this thing going. So I guess talk to me in a year or two and see how I'm holding up then. But right now it's like, okay, every video that I make, I also genuinely want to make for myself. And that's also part of the advantage of being within this beginner mindset, because it's like, hey, when I made my video about intros, I was excited. I was like, hey, I get to go learn how to make a killer intro right now. And so it was really cool, because it was like getting paid to go and learn something. It's like I just got to go and learn for myself and then make it into a video and ship it. And that was amazing. Same thing for this thumbnail too. I was like, okay, I know I have so much to learn about thumbnails. let's go off and as deep as I can and learn about thumbnails. And I'm really excited for the rest of the videos in the series because I'm not an expert. I don't know about these things, but I can go and learn about them and then make them into really cool videos that people love. And it's like, okay, everybody wins. That's amazing. But with my other types of videos too, I'm excited to make them because that's like, I get to play, I get to experiment, I get to connect more with my viewers. I get to, get a little bit deeper and a little bit more, into the emotional side of being a creator and the struggles there. And that's super, super fun. And I love doing that as well. And so it's like, okay, if every video I make, I feel like I want to do, regardless of the video being put out, and the video putting out is like makes it even better, that's like the ideal situation,
Now it's obviously really cool that you're riding that wave of momentum, like the videos are going well, but where do you want to take this further? What's the plans around this? Like, obviously views are great, but how are you planning on monetizing it? Because also like a side question is like, is YouTube your only thing that you're doing to live, or are you still like working on the side? I remember you have like some freelance gigs stuff going on. How does the future basically look for you?
Yeah, I think I recently completely brainwashed myself with Mr. Beast recently, and so like I still have like a lot of his sayings in my head, of like YouTube is number one, right? And how like a lot of creators, once they get some success on YouTube, they start to like pour a lot of energy into outsized things. And I'm like, okay, no, YouTube is number one. I have to make sure that YouTube is healthy first. And so like views come first. The videos that I'm making here come first. I do think that even though I have like a healthy momentum going, I'm not quite at the stage yet where I can start to devote a lot of extra energy out, because I want to get back into the rhythm of more frequent content creation, not weekly, but definitely more often than 3 months for a video. So putting a lot of energy into that. When it comes to how I'm making money right now, YouTube is my, I guess like YouTube and YouTube related stuff is how I'm making all of my money. So obviously you have YouTube AdSense, that's coming in. Affiliate marketing has been doing like kind of decently. I've been like furrowing into it for the first time. It's pretty solid. I'm just going to start accepting my first sponsors on the channel coming up soon at some point this year. If I feel like I'm still nervous about it. I've accepted sponsorships before in previous channels, but this one is, I don't know, it feels different. So I'm going to experiment with accepting a sponsor or a few for those. So that's going to bring in more money. Right now I'm doing lots of consulting. So I'm also like a YouTube consultant on the side as well, which is very natural, right? People watch my YouTube videos and you're like, wow, this girl knows what she's talking about. Let's reach out to her and see if she offers consulting. It's really interesting because it's not something that I've advertised at all yet. Like I've been planning on putting a page on my website, but I just haven't gotten around to it yet. But even so, enough people, I have enough like just pure inbound people DMing me and asking me if I offer consulting. So like that branch has been doing, like I've gotten up to $500 per hour, which is still insane to think about. So that's like
crazy,
a pretty like solid source of income there. My goal for the short term is to kind of be like the reverse Patty Galloway, where Patty Galloway is like mostly consultant and a little bit of creator. I want to be like mostly creator and a little bit of consultant. So that's kind of like the direction that I'm heading in. And then I have some like really huge long-term plans for, I think, like how I want to impact the creator economy within YouTube. But that's probably like a 5-year plan, not a short-term plan.
That's really cool. And now, that you mention it, you're only one of the few female coaches and like creators that talks about YouTube growth, and that's actually really refreshing as well. And I believe that there's probably plenty of other women that want to get into it, but it's such a male-dominated niches again, and they probably need that voice out there. So that's actually like, I haven't even thought about that before. That's really cool.
Yeah, no, it was. I remember when it first hit me when I went to Vid Summit this year. Did you guys go to Vid Summit?
I went to VidCon this year, but not Vid Summit.
Okay, so Yeah, Vid Summit is more of like the industry one, like for creators, not creators and fans. So I went there. There were a lot of people, and it just struck me for the first time just how male-dominated YouTube is. It's like, whoa, that's wild. Just like seeing people in person and like realizing, oh, like there's a pretty big male to female ratio here. And then I thought about it. I was like, yeah, I don't really know any female YouTube consultants. Like, I don't know a single one. That's also wild. And I got a message from a client that I'm now working with, like about YouTube consulting, and her audience is more like female entrepreneurs, and so her audience is female. And she told me that like she had talked to a lot of YouTube consultants, and they were all very smart, and they all obviously knew what they were doing, but she felt like none of them really understood her audience and kind of like what like. Or they knew, but they couldn't empathize. And so when she reached out to me, it was really cool because I felt like I could form a deeper connection there in a way that felt natural, which was just a really cool thing to experience.
That is very interesting for sure. That's like now an epiphany to me, to be honest. I didn't even thought about that because, like, obviously we're part of the male dominant, trying to not dominant, but you know what I mean. And just trying to say what we say, but now that we think about, like, we don't have that many female clients, and that's probably one of the reasons that they don't feel too comfortable around that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we work primarily B2B, usually with the business owners, and it's the same in the business world, right? The vast majority of business owners are generally male, and so I think that's one of the reasons why our clients are mainly male. But I have a question about when you quit YouTube. I just want to kind of not quit YouTube, but when you kind of burned out, because I feel like this is a problem that almost every YouTuber that's been going for at least a year, at least 2 years, has experienced, and it is a problem. And there's a kind of a trend right now of I don't know whether you've seen them. I quit YouTube, and so many YouTubers are quitting, and in almost all of the videos they're kind of saying the same thing. And I know this because I've made my own I quit YouTube video, or thoughts on why so many YouTubers are quitting. And I just kind of want to learn the process of what made you burn out, and how did you kind of come out the other side to be making like incredible videos now?
Okay, so I guess, like, great question. I guess I'll start with how I burned out in the first place, like how I got into that position. And it came, first of all, with me falling into a niche that I didn't really love, which was the NFT niche. Gasp, crypto girl. This was like late 2021, again, like height of all of the hype around NFTs. And I was curious about them. So I made an experimental NFT collection just to see what all the hype was about. And I made a lot of mistakes. And, I was very much about building in public. So I kind of shared my experience on Twitter, in a Twitter thread. That did really well on Twitter. So I made it into a YouTube video. And people loved it. And I was put into this position where I think also a lot of creators go through. It's like, what happens if you have a video blow up? What do you do? And I didn't know what to do. So I was asking people for advice. And the biggest piece of advice I got was, well, niche down to blow up. You have a video do really well, so double down. Your NFT video did well, do more videos about NFTs, niche into this, and you'll have more momentum. The problem was I wasn't really passionate about NFTs, right? I had a little bit of interest. I wanted to see what the hype was about, but I didn't want to like keep going, right? I wasn't really interested in doing it long term. But I was like, well, the thing I should do is like niche down to blow up, and I rationalized it, which is like a big warning sign, big red flag. If you find yourself rationalizing why you should go in a certain direction or make a certain video, I promise you it's probably not one that you should be making. But I rationalized in my head so much of like, well, even though I don't really like this niche, like I'm providing something that's not really there. Again, like the same kind of deal. Lots of male voices in the NFT niche. Not a lot of like beginner friendly voices. Everyone was very technical. I was much more like approachable and accessible for people wanting to learn about the industry. I was like, well, like I'm providing value, and maybe the people who are interested in NFTs are also interested in like other things that I may be interested in, and maybe I could like transition to something I was more interested in later on. But all of this rationalization, decided to niche down, kept making videos about NFTs, and again, like very quickly got to the point where I'm like, oh, I don't want to do this, right? Everything that I said before about like feeling intrinsically motivated to do all of the work for a video, and then the video itself is just a cherry on top. Nothing of that was happening with NFT, right? It's like I wasn't interested. The only reason I was learning about NFTs was so I can make a video about it for my viewers. Like I had no interest in it whatsoever. It's like, okay, the creator's kind of like the whole like head of this whole operation. That's the center of this operation. If she doesn't care about what she's doing, that's not good. And I even like tried to make a couple of videos that were not as NFT oriented, and those all completely flopped. And I got to this point where I was like, man, I had another video to make, and I started working on it, and I kept procrastinating on working on it. And then every time I thought about it, I was just filled with this growing sense of dread over having to, enter the world of NFTs again, dread over opening my laptop, dread over getting out of bed in the morning. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, this is bad. Like worst burnout I've ever experienced. I could not bring myself to create anything anymore. And that's when I kind of had to shut down that channel.
Yeah, it was interesting because I remember your kind of your final video, I think on that channel, maybe like 2 or 3 years ago, and you were very open about it. You were saying how like you're not as interested in NFTs anymore, and I could completely resonate with you because at the time the NFT space it was very toxic. There was a lot of shilling, there was a lot of scamming, there was a lot of greed, there was a lot of get rich quick schemes, and it just wasn't a very friendly environment. But that's one of the reasons why there's so many I quit YouTube videos right now, because people are getting caught up on that treadmill, if you like, or and as you said, you tried to make different types of videos, but those videos, like the algorithm kind of penalized you. And it's the same with YouTube, really. Like if you make videos on topics that are not in your core topic area, then the algorithm isn't going to like it, and the views are you're just not going to get views. So one of the problems, I guess, with YouTube is that people, like we creators, we want to be creative, but it's after you've made the same video 50 times or for a year or 2 years, it's very difficult to continue that creativity. But MKBHD, he gave a really good analogy of it's kind of like being a basketball player, like a professional basketball player. Like at first it might feel like it would be amazing to play basketball, the one thing that you're really passionate about every single day. But as soon as it becomes a job and you have to play basketball because you're getting paid for it, then it's a little bit harder. But at the same time, I'm not complaining. Like YouTube is it's been an amazing opportunity for me, and I think for you guys as well. And I'm very, very grateful. I wouldn't have had anywhere near the opportunities that I had over the last like 6 or 7 years that I've been on YouTube if it wasn't for that channel.
Yeah. I mean, 100%, right? It's like, which is why, again, I'm going into this one trying my very hardest to not fall into that same trap, and not get burnt out like I did before, and really approach it from the very, very beginning. I was so intentional about, I guess going back after I, quit my NFT channel, I took pretty much a full year off of YouTube. That year was spent figuring out what the heck I was going to do next. So much of my identity was like wrapped into that channel. And so after I parted ways with that, I was like, okay, what do I do now? And through that process, a lot of self-discovery and yada, 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 eventually realized I do love YouTube. And if I could be successful at anything in the world, I would want to be a successful YouTuber. And once I made that realization, I was like, okay, so we're going back to YouTube, but like, what am I going to make videos about? And it was very, very, very intentional about kind of choosing the direction that I'm currently in now because of that experience, because I know, well, if I had to talk about one thing for the rest of my life, I want to talk about YouTube because I genuinely love it so much. And that's where we're at.
That's awesome. If you had to give new beginners one piece of advice to create more or to start their YouTube journey or to basically keep going on YouTube, what would that be?
These are all kind of different questions. I'd say like my biggest advice to any like newer YouTuber, if you're at a point where you're struggling to grow, my number one piece of advice is there's probably something wrong with your packaging. So there's probably something wrong with either your idea or your title and thumbnail together because your packaging, right? So my advice to them is like, okay, hold off on trying to improve your video quality itself. Focus really hard on just your packaging. Get very good at that. And that should be enough to kind of like break you out of the initial like slump or like plateau that you're in. To anyone who's currently like in a slump or plateau, I will say it's tough and it's so easy to give up. But one of like the biggest plateaus that I've experienced in my creator journey was in this new channel. After I was like uploading so much and not getting any traction and questioning everything. And if I had given up then, that was, I don't know, maybe a few weeks before I got my big break on YouTube. Like a few weeks. That's insane. So wherever you're at now, if you're feeling a plateau, keep pushing through and understand that you have to do things differently, right? Like the thing that jump-started me out of my like ditch of despair was launching to a 90-day challenge, right? Where like, okay, let's do everything I possibly can to get monetized in 90 days. Whatever that is for you to get yourself jump-started and out of there, do it and learn as much as you can about YouTube and make changes, right? You can't expect different results if you're just doing the same thing. So pick something to go and learn about. I recommend packaging and ideas, but pick something to go and learn about and become an expert in, and then come back and keep doing that. And then for the ones who like feel like giving up or burning out, I'll say give yourself permission to create for yourself with the understanding that it's not going to get as many views, but different videos can have different goals, right? Again, you can have the videos whose the goal is to get more views, but you can also create videos with the goal to connect deeper, like more deeply with your current audience. And you can make videos with the goal to rejuvenate your own creative spark. And if you let go of the expectation of views, that's a different metric of success for a different type of video. Judge your new videos through a different metric of success. And that could be something to kind of like get that creative spark lit again to keep you going.
That's amazing. Well, Aprilynne, thank you so much to be the first guest on the Playstack podcast. We had a blast. For people that might not be too familiar with you, where can they find you best?
I'm on YouTube at youtube.com/ that's the ampersand sign, Aprilynne Alter. Twitter and twitter.com/ Aprilynne Alter. And my course, which you can find at aprilynnealter.com.
Awesome. This was amazing. And again, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for having me.
And if you're looking to get more views on your own YouTube channel, we've got a YouTube channel audit cheat sheet where it basically goes through a very comprehensive guide from A to Z of what can be improved on your YouTube channel. And then we have tutorials for how you can improve all of those components. So you can check that out in the description below. It's completely free.
Thank you so much for listening and hope to find you on the next one.